自民党の片山さつき財務大臣は衆議院解散報道であふれる中、ダボス会議へ出席し、フィナンシャルタイムズのラックマンさんがファシリテーターとなったトークセッションへ参加し、世界が日本に抱く疑念を英語で一周しました。まずはこちらをご覧ください。
Minister, let's start with you. As I say, election just called. Everyone is very intrigued to understand what the Takaichi government, which has only been in power relatively recently, but is really doing a new start for Japan, what it represents in economic terms. So you have an international audience here to explain it to. If you had to summarize it, what is it?
Yeah. Thank you very much, last man. Good morning, everybody. My name is Satsuki Katayama, Japan's finance minister. This is the most dramatic moment to talk about Japan. Only yesterday, Prime Minister, our Prime Minister Takaichi, announced officially the dissolution of our lower house. She said she will stake on our new 3 major policies onto the choice of Japanese people. And I will speak about or explain about all these 3, starting with strong Japanese economy through responsible and proactive public finances. And now in Japan, optimism toward these changes is growing. In a recent survey of young adults, confidence in politics jumped from about 20% to over 56%, historically high figure. And almost 50% viewed Japan's future as bright. It's also quite new. We are different from your country. Citing political change and expectation for the new administration. And Japan's nominal GDP has surpassed $4 trillion US. Capital investment is at record high, and wages have risen over 5% for 2 consecutive years, and the Nikkei average is now about 5 times its 2012 level. And these results show Japan is shifting from a deflationary cost-cutting economy to a dynamic growth-oriented one, driven by bold investment and productivity gains. Today, I'd like to outline the 3 key pillars of our growth strategy to turn this momentum into sustainable progress. And the first pillar is strategic investment in priority areas. In a country facing future population sharply decline, achieving a strong Japanese economy requires strategic fiscal action. And based on responsible and proactive public finances, by strengthening Japan's supply structure and raising growth, we aim to lift incomes, restore consumer confidence also, and create a virtuous cycle of improving corporate profitability. We are advancing bold and strategic investments that enhance growth and resilience against potential crises to strengthen Japan's supply capacity. More concretely, we will provide proactive public-private investment to address risks such as economic, food, energy, and resource security. Through delivering products, services, and infrastructure that helps solve the global challenges, we will drive Japan's further economic growth. For example, we are strengthening the semiconductor supply chain through initiatives such as the Lapidus project, which would enable domestic production of cutting-edge 2-nanometer chips. And we are also advancing physical AI, which would enable autonomous robotic assistance and unmanned plant operation by aggregating and training high-quality data. And we aim to achieve more than $330 billion US of public and private sector investments in the AI and semiconductor sectors by improving predictability for the private sector through over $66 billion US of public support. These key measures for building a strong Japanese economy are also reflected in the 2026 tax reform too. Specifically, we will introduce tax incentive measures for promoting domestic investment in high value-added assets. In addition, we will establish a new category under the R&D tax system, designed to incentivize corporate R&D in national strategic technology domains, such as AI and quantum and biotechnology.
Thank you very much for setting that out. And you're obviously explaining a lot of things that you intend to inject new dynamism, new hope into the Japanese economy. But it also sounds quite expensive, some of it. You know, there's a lot of spending involved also on defense, I gather, in the new geopolitical environment, which I'll ask Kevin about in a minute. Some bond investors seem to be a bit nervous. I was just talking to some Japanese finance people. They say that the bond yield in Tokyo is going up. What do you have to say to people who are worried, particularly in the bond market, about the implications for Japan's debt?
Yes. Since last October, since I assumed my post, I have been continuously talking with financial sector, pension, insurance, and all the institutional investors that we keep on going with sustainability of our public finances. And in the formulation of the last two economic package, we could have kept our dependency ratio upon GDP lower than the previous one. That is incredible, but that was feasible because tax revenue increased. And our dependency ratio upon debt is as low as 24%. It's 10% lower than it used to be. And our, this year's public expense ratio onto our nominal GDP is by far the lowest among G7 countries. So that's the result. So we are trying to keep the sustainability along with we are increasing spending.
Yeah, and you're confident that what growth will make up for will generate enough revenue to make all this possible?
Yes. We firmly believe in we should sharply move from the extensive cost-cut economy toward vital boosting investment economy, and it will bring about more tax revenue and more consumption, and that will have a virtuous cycle of economy.
Okay. Final question for you before I turn to the rest of the panel. As you look at the Japanese economy in this new geopolitical situation and also massive technological change, AI and so on, what do you see as the sectors where Japan can really excel?
Yeah, we have already designated 17 fields, including AI, AI-related robotics, physical AI, semiconductor, fusion, quantum, and maritime, and defense, and what else? All major fields of which we can say that will do also good to not only to Japanese economy but also Japanese national security or future resilience. So that's why we are called these investments, not only growth strategy but also crisis management.
Do you think it's fair to say that Japan is still in some respects a slightly closed society and that you need to do more to open up, or is that a misunderstanding? Yeah,
Japanese economy is, I honestly think it's a relatively open one, but the hesitation of, for example, testing of pharmaceutical is not coming from that we are closed, but Japanese people have a tendency not to cooperate with that kind of testing. So we increased our R&D budget by a great deal last year, supplementary budget, and this year. That will try to put many research and development as many as possible into domestic field, but we let that field of your field as legal exemption because we are in short of that. But this is true that research and development is essential in many fields, And as pharmaceutical sector, let's say 10 or 20 years, they were aiming for a bigger business. But after all, most of our big pharmaceutical company finally had an alliance, capital alliance with big worldwide spreading companies. And now they all come to see me because last year was a battle year of medical and pharmaceutical budgets. And that is a tendency to be lowered by Trump administration. So they came to ask me to stop that lowering. We cannot bear anymore. That kind of difficulty is always rising in the sector. It's particular because in Japan, it's universal health coverage, but right. In United States, it's not. And U.S. government is trying to minimize the expense onto that compensation for American people. And some are aiming for more universal. So that is a big social and political problem that we have to think about it.
Very interesting, yeah. And in fact, I think that pressure from the Trump administration on pharmaceuticals points to a broader issue for Japan, actually for all countries in the world, but we're talking about Japan, which is that the United States is a less reliable partner, I think we can say. I mean, that it has imposed tariffs on Japan, its close ally, that it is demanding massive Japanese investment in the United States. And at the same time, your other major trading partner, as Kevin was saying, very difficult relationship with China, just got a bit more difficult. I gather the Chinese, when I was last in Tokyo, it was full of Chinese tourists, and now I'm told they've been told not to come and things like that. So how do you, as one of the world's largest economy, but not a superpower, navigate this new geopolitical environment and run an economy when you have both the US and China putting different forms of pressure on you?
Mr. Lashman, it's a very good question and always posed to us. We are between United States and China for long years, and we can't move geopolitical. And we did have a war with both of that. Yeah. We know both of them very, very well. So finally, we had the only national security treaty with the United States. The United States is the only ally in this field. And even last week, I was in Washington, D.C., and my friend Scott Bassett was organizing a G7 critical mineral meeting. It was very successful. And on that sense, we are facing the restriction from the side of Chinese government without any good reason. But it also happened. It's always happening since 2010. These reasons now have nothing to do with trade or economy, just for another reason. But wherever it happens, United States and our ally in G7 are always of our helps. And Japan is the only country which have seat in G7, and it's been 50 years. We have the only country in Asia who have a complete free currency. So that's my answer. We, geopolitically, we are always trying to be in our best position. And now it's as it is.
Prime Minister Takaichi is the first female Prime Minister of Japan, and you are the first female Finance Minister. Yes. And I remember, in previous Japan sessions during the Abe period, there was a lot of talk about womenomics. Are we now actually seeing it in action, that Japan is mobilizing its female talent, really? And is that part of your pitch going into this election?
Of course, it's always part of our pitch. And also, we are trying to protect and reinforce what Mr. Morita has said. This is the force of our industry in the super high-tech area. Only Japan can do that. And also, a sort of financial technology which are coming maybe Japan could be a little bit advanced in the coming digitalization of finance and coming cryptocurrency utilization, because we are still on the level of testing, even in the United States. But Japan is the first country to introduce legislation onto that. I had a talk with Scott on this matter too, and maybe in near future, in a very near future, there will be a stable coin market exchange between dollar and yen, and maybe a little better with euro. This kind of new proposition can be posed from Japanese side because Japan is Japan. So it's not only women mix, but we would like to take advantage of what we are, like these two gentlemen mentioned kindly to us.
Okay, excellent.
このように片山財務大臣は日本の財政に対する疑念に対し英語で即反論されました。こういった場で英語で反論できることは財務大臣の言葉でしっかり伝えることができ、海外へ明確にメッセージが出せるので良いと思いました。世界で輝く日本になるためにもこういった取り組みから広げていただきたいですね。皆さんはこの件についてどう思いますか？ぜひコメント欄でご意見をお聞かせください。ご視聴いただきありがとうございました。また次回の動画でお会いしましょう。では。